changing rate environment, whether they're high, whether they're low. It seems like, commercial investment properties are on the market, they're off the market, and folks are looking for, a good investment. But sometimes it can be a little intimidating on the commercial side of things, on, hey, how different is this from maybe the home loan process if I'm buying, a duplex, or I'm just buying my own house to live in.
Okay, we gotta check the hair again. Jeez, is that? Yeah, that's how that.
Did you hit record?
Yeah.
Right.
Do I look okay? You got anything sticking out?
I think we're good.
Okay, good. All right. Hi, I'm Sharli Arntzen, your candid real estate broker here in Ketchikan, Alaska, and I'm sitting today with Mr. Jason Gentry, the commercial loan specialist. Title?
Lending branch manager is what I'm called here, but
that sounds fancy.
I guess so.
Sounds like you have more
I help everybody.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what that means. Yeah.
Very good. I'm excited to be here at North Friend Bank today and talking a little bit with Mr. Gentry about what does it take to start investing in real estate. Is that fair? Is that what we talked about?
I think that's fair. It can be a pretty overwhelming and intimidating process. Even more so, I found. And buying your own house or something residential, I found that it's pretty overwhelming when you talk about making a purchase for an investment property, a commercial building or something. And I think folks think it's a little bit maybe more complicated than it really needs to be. So
I know that was kind of my experience. Mm-hmm. I have a couple commercial properties, and I wanted to get them for a few years. I just wanted to get into purchasing, but it seemed like it was daunting. And how would I even get started?
Yeah.
So tell us.
Well, how do you get started?
How do you get started?
How do you even do that?
Yeah.
Well, you come on down to North Friend Bank and say hi. And first of all, and I think a lot of folks think that it's going to take a lot more than it really does. But I think a lot of folks also think, hey, there's a property, there's a building, I want to buy it. Where do I even begin? But I think a great starting point would just be coming by and talking to me. We can uncover so many things in just a 5-minute conversation, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of folks think that they have to compile a whole bunch of information and the last 12 years of tax returns and signing over all future assets, all just crazy stuff, right? But it's really not that complicated at all. But before we even really get into paperwork or what's required document wise or financial history or more intricacies about the building itself, I like to just get to know who it is that we're potentially going to be working with. Find out, hey, what are your goals? What do you want this property for? Are you investing in it just solely for the income? Do you want to open up your own business in it? Do you have what's your plans? Why do you want to do it? And before we really even get into the numbers part of it, so that'll help me uncover quite a few things. And then after that, after we meet and get a chance to just talk, we'll start talking about a few details, a little bit more about the building, who's been in it, who's in it right now, what's the rental history, has it been successful? Mm-hmm. Is everybody in there on a month to month, which adds a little bit more of a risk maybe, or is
me think, what then if I'm interested in getting into commercial asset ownership, what generic or what standard things could I trust I would need in order to prepare to come talk to you? I know as a real estate broker, a lot of times people are like, I'll come talk to you when I'm ready. Yes, I want to work with you, but I got to wait and get my ducks in a row. But a lot of times, like at Province Properties, we want you to come even before you necessarily get your ducks in a row, because we want to help you figure out which duck needs to go in which order.
See, that's exactly it. So there's a step one and a step two. You know, step one, and I would encourage, if you're working with a realtor, or whether I would encourage that you work with a realtor, especially Sharli. But you don't have to feel like you have to have every single thing checked off the list before you talk to somebody, because you could be missing out on some things. I mean, or potentially, I hate to say it like this, but maybe wasting your time. I mean, you don't know if that's even a right fit for you until maybe you have a 5-minute conversation with a realtor and a banker.
Yep.
So I'm always going to encourage folks to just say, hey man, here's what I want to do. What do you think? I'm going to ask you just some qualifying questions. Hey, do you have any idea where your credit is right now? I mean, even what's the first number? That'll give me an indication, right? And have you filed your tax returns yet? Do you have your last few years handy?
Yeah.
Have you seen financials on the building yet? Do you know who's in it? Do you know if it's rented out? And like I said, getting the plans. But to skip to your question, once we get to that point and get to know you a little bit about what your goals are, yeah, absolutely, you're going to have to bring some financial history. And it's not too awful daunting, really. It's pretty consistent straight across the board. And for buying a commercial property, we're going to want to see a 3-year history on the commercial property itself. In the form,
3-year history on the commercial property.
In the form of tax returns. So right now we're so far into 2019 already. So we just began the month of August. So we'd be looking at 16, 17, and 18 tax returns, and then a current rent roll. So hey, who's in it right now, and what are they paying, and are they in leases or are they month to month? That gives the bank a good idea of is this income that we can count on to sustain for a while, or does it have maybe a little bit of a choppy rental history where we might have to rely on someone's personal income a little bit more and kind of look at the global financial picture. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of detail in there where we first need to take a look at how does the building itself cash flow? What kind of an income is it producing, and could it pay back the proposed loan that we're talking about?
Okay, take 2. We had it awesome. It was perfect. Everything was swell. And I missed recording half of the last take. So we're going to do take 2. Okay.
Double the fun.
Double the fun.
You're buying would be producing enough of an income on its own to support the loan payments for the loan on the property. So is it bringing in enough lease income or rental income after expenses to be able to pay for the prospective loan that we're talking about? That's ideal.
Right.
And
that's just part of that initial conversation.
Absolutely.
That's just an initial, okay, does this make financial sense? How do we make it financial sense?
Right.
Is the next step of the conversation.
Are the units
right?
in the property, are they leased out long term? That's a
Yes.
strength, right? Because that's guaranteed income for you.
Yes.
You're going to get paid. If they're all on month to month, maybe a little bit of a shady rental history, not real consistent, adds a little bit more risk to it, and we'll talk about that. Some of the paperwork that you can expect to have to provide, let's say we've met, you say, man, this is a great property, I want to buy it, I think the rental income history looks pretty good. Some of the things you can expect to provide outside of the personal financial statement is the last 3 years of tax returns personally for you. So 3
years of personal tax returns.
Right, and that personal financial statement. So and we work with CPAs all over the place. So don't feel like you have to print anything out and bring in this big box of documents. Don't do that. So ask your CPA, your accountant, or if you do them yourselves, feel free to email them to me. It's totally fine. Electronic is good. Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at investment purchase for real estate, it's really a team effort, and you want to get the right people on your side. So hopefully you'll find that at Province Properties and at Northrim Bank. I know that I do. Was there anything else that we wanted to mention?
I think maybe the last thing that I wanted to mention too is two minor things, if that's okay.
Please
All right, two last
Educate
things.
us.
There are expenses that a lot of folks don't think about when buying a commercial property. I think a lot of folks say, hey man, what's the payment going to be after I make my down payment? What's my payment? That's why seeing the the historical tax returns for that particular property are so helpful for us, because we can say, hey, here's what your traditional expenses have been. You know, your electric bills or your maintenance bills. You can expect that to continue. As well as insurance, you know, we can kind of crank out some numbers and get a general idea of what insurance may be. If it's in a flood zone, flood insurance may be required. So there's different expenses beyond the loan itself.
That's another video.
It is another
Flood
video.
zone. Hey, Richard Harney, we're coming for you.
but that's where the initial meeting comes in, just to chat about that kind of stuff, and then figure out as well. We can talk about this. Who's going to be the buyer? Is it going to be an individual, or do you plan on making a partnership or an LLC that's going to be the purchaser of this property? And we can help guide you through that process as well. But those are some of the things that we'll talk about in the interim conversation or the early conversation, so you don't get too far down the road and have something pop up that's going to delay the process.
And that's what you just educated me about. I didn't realize with the entity, you don't have to necessarily have, because you're not going to have, if you establish an entity or a partnership to purchase real estate, you're not going to have 2 or 3 years of financial history, but they're going to be looking at your personal financial statement instead, and it's basically your personal guarantee that's going to be backing the loan, right?
First and foremost is the
guarantor.
Guarantor. So the first and foremost, we'll be looking at the income that the building itself is producing. That's number one. Number one source of repayment. Always going to look at that, and ideally that would cash flow on its own to support the loan. Secondary, we'll be looking at the whole global picture and where some other income's coming from.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time, Jason, and thank you guys
Sharli.
for watching the video. Check us out on YouTube. Our channel is Providence Properties. Like us on Facebook. Check out Instagram. We're on LinkedIn right now, and we're just really hoping to provide great real estate and Ketchikan services to our outlying areas and people coming in. This is all rambling. I'm just rambling because all I really want you to know is Providence Properties, your natural real estate resource. Thanks for watching.
Take care, folks.